right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Conrad Challenge webinar series. My name is Joey Segura, Innovation Challenge and Programs Manager here at Space Center Houston. And today, we are diving into Dream Team Dynamics, how to build a strong team, combine complementary skills, and find great teammates. By the end of this session, you'll leave with a practical picture of what makes a strong team, a way to map compatible qualities and complementary skills, and concrete steps for finding and vetting teammates. All right, it's time to meet today's expert, Brady Pyle. Brady Pyle is a Chief Human Resources and Inclusion Officer here at Space Center Houston. Brady, we're thrilled to have you. And as one of the leading HR executives in our industry and your track record of building high-performing teams at major organizations such as NASA, could you share with us your background and perspective that you'll bring in for today's conversation?
Yeah, thanks so much, Joey. And I was disappointed to see that there was no option to be the Cheerio as part of the Conrad Challenge. But my role here is the Chief HR and Inclusion Officer, which we affectionately call the Cheerio. A little bit of my career, I started as a HR rep after graduate school at Texas A&M, where I was pursuing a graduate degree in HR management. I worked as an HR rep for about 10 years at the Johnson Space Center here at NASA, and then became a frontline leader of HR reps, moved into some different functions and roles within HR. Then I went off on my Jedi trials, as shown here. Spent a year in Washington, D.C., both at NASA headquarters and then outside of NASA at the World Bank's International Finance Corporation. Came back to the Johnson Space Center, did some workforce planning, was the Deputy Director of Human Resources at JSC for about 3 years, and then I did a short 9-month stint as a frontline leader in engineering. Then I came back, was named the HR Director in an HR executive position in 2015, served in that role until 2018, and then at that point, NASA changed its HR model. For 60 years, we had been decentralized, and so the HR leadership reported to the field centers. 2018, they decided that we needed to save money and have all of the HR organizations managed centrally. So my role became the supervisor of other field HR executives. So that's the Palpatine picture there, sitting in the chair, which is what I did. I worked virtually like this for about 5 years, working with executives across NASA, and then ultimately took early retirement in 2023 as the Deputy Chief Human Capital Officer to come over here as the Cheerio. And you can see how my mood has shifted, and I'm much happier at Space Center Houston.
Well, we are more than thrilled to have you here on our team here at Space Center Houston with such a wealth of knowledge. And that brings us into tapping into that wealth of knowledge. And so thank you for sharing your journey here, Brady. We're going to go ahead and just jump straight into our first question here. And our segment here is going to focus a little bit more on defining a strong team. So first question for you today is, what 3 qualities do you think every high-performing team must have?
Yeah, so the word high performing to me has to start with excellence. You've got to have excellence and deliver results to be a high performing team. I think the second team thing there is that you really have to be aligned around a common mission and common goals. That also leads to high performance. And then third, working together as a team, you've got to have trust in one another and in fellow team members, because for teams to accomplish big things, each person has to do significant things on their own. So there needs to be trust across that team that other team members are going to pull their weight, do the right thing, and then that allows you as a team member to let go of certain things and make sure the team can accomplish more.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Thank you for sharing all of that. Now, one follow-up question that I would have to ask, because one of the things that we want to provide our students are actionable items. So How would you encourage teams that are here right now, or coaches, to be able to help support those teams? How would you should these students practice on a daily basis to accomplish that?
Yeah, I think if you're going to perform with excellence as a team, that means each individual has to bring their best and do their best personally, and they have to be reliable. You got to be able to count on each other, and so as an individual, you've got to be able to do your best for the team, whatever assignment you have, whatever task you have, and make sure that the rest of the team can rely on you. And then I think also you've got to listen and seek to understand other perspectives of your teammates. That's the way you build trust. That's the way you go further together. If you're always the team member who's bringing answers and not really listening to other teammates, that's going to breed distrust. And so making sure that you're open to suggestions of others and really listening and building those relationships will be key. So it's both about delivering results and then also building relationships. And those are some practical things that you can do on both sides of that.
So if I were to, let's say, take a nice little takeaway from all of this for our teams, the one thing that you could work on today, meaning after this webinar, is as a team, commit to maybe, let's say, three core team qualities. I mean, trust was a big one that you laid out right there. So maybe that becomes a core tenet of your team. Excellence and alignment of that mission, and then use those particular those core qualities to guide your team as they go forth in this innovation challenge.
Yeah, and that was a nice job, Joey. As a longtime NASA guy, we used acronyms all the time. So the trust, excellence, and alignment on mission happens to spell out team. Nicely
Well,
done.
look at that. I mean, it was meant to be. So hopefully you could take that away for all of you Conrad innovators that are out there, take away at least three of these core team qualities with you. Now, alignment on a mission. We kind of ended on that one with the team, which brings in another big topic, meaning vision or a shared vision. Having a shared vision is so pivotal to having a successful, high-functioning team. How does a shared vision or a goal shape that team's success?
Yeah, I think the word shared is huge here. So let me tell you about a mistake I made when I first stepped into a leadership role at NASA. I had grown up as an HR rep, as you saw on the bio chart, had been in that role for about 5 years, and then I got promoted to a position where I was going to lead 3 junior HR reps. And I thought, hey, leaders need to cast vision. They're expected to kind of have the vision and know where the team needs to go. So I spent some time kind of reflecting on that, building and crafting what I felt was a beautiful vision for the team. Came back to them, presented the vision to them, and frankly, it fell flat. And I can remember the looks on the faces of the team members, and their feedback was, hey, we have ideas too. We would like to be able to participate in this vision casting. If it's really about shared vision, everyone needs to participate in the forming of the vision. Fortunately, I learned that very early in my leadership career. I saw many leaders who didn't learn that lesson and had a hard time engaging their team and getting their team aligned behind a vision because it wasn't shared. And so that's something that's really important as a team, is working together to build that vision. In fact, tomorrow I'm meeting with my HR team. We're looking at HR 2030, and a big thing we're doing is getting all the team's ideas of where should we be in the next 5 years? What should things look like? What should our services look like? What are their ideas? And then we're going to take those and shape a shared vision for the future. So it's not the leaders crafting that and handing the vision, it's us building it and sharing it together.
Well, yeah, that's incredible to hear that you are utilizing that in your own professional life. And, here at the Conrad Challenge, so much of the focus on is building these incredible STEM innovations that are going to solve world problems, in each one of our 4 to 5 categories that we have. But, one thing that I see, in this journey from students is the ability to build those team dynamics, which are centered around that shared vision. And one thing that we talk about in a lot of our outreach or when we're pitching Conrad to students is that there's a lot of empathy in innovation, and there needs to be a lot of empathy in that team building, and having that empathetic mindset to be able to build something together as a shared vision is a great way to take the right steps towards being a high quality, high functioning team. And that way you can take some of these skills that you're building here in the Conrad innovation journey and utilize them at the next level of education or in the professional life. So it's amazing to hear that you're practicing what you preach.
Yeah,
Um,
well said, Joey. I think these are skills that will be lifelong skills for sure.
Now, to bring that shared vision or that team goal to unify a team, um, we want our students to walk away with something. So what's your template for a one sentence mission that can unify that team?
Yeah, so the best way I think about this is I went through some work a number of years ago to craft a personal mission statement. And in working through that, I read some things and saw some things that gave some good criteria for a mission statement. One, it needs to be simple enough so a 12-year-old can understand it. It needs to be easy to remember, and it needs to be short enough to easily repeat. And so I had gone through some work again on my personal mission statement, and it had boiled it down to I really want to be a leader wherever I am and improve leadership wherever I go. And after I read that criteria, I kind of shortened it to improve leadership wherever I go. And you saw that on the bio as well. That kind of frames a lot of who I am and what I want to do personally. But I think those are good criteria to keep in mind as you're building out a mission statement.
No, I think you're spot on. And one of the things I actually like about that is it needs to be simple enough so a 12-year-old can understand it. And the reason why I say that is because, the Conrad Challenge is a STEM innovation and business competition. We're a challenge. And so many times we have students or we have these, brilliant students who have these highly technical STEM innovations, and being able to take something so highly technical and make it simplistic for somebody like, say, a 12-year-old, because many times these venture capitalists, these investors may not have the science or the technical knowledge to understand the highly technical capabilities of an innovation. So that is an excellent skill for students to practice right now, is how can you take something like a mission statement or even your innovation or your business pitch and cater it to a wide audience of knowledge. So, even getting started on that one sentence mission statement and making it concise and simple and clear is a great step to make on this journey.
Yeah, I would echo that, Joey, to just to say that I think some of our best leaders at NASA were able to really make the complex simple. And I think you said that well of how do you take some of these complex ideas that you're working in the Conrad Challenge and simplify them, because you're going to have different audiences, like Joey said. You're going to have business folks, people that may want to invest in the idea that may not be technical experts. How are you making that simple for them? I think the other key element of a mission statement is you want action in your mission, and you want your mission statement to give you clarity about what you want to do and what you don't want to do. It should clarify choices for you about what to pursue and what not to pursue, but be kind of action oriented and like you said, Joey, simple and concise.
Speaking of action, well, that gets us to our takeaway. Your action item, students and coaches that are watching around the globe. Right after this webinar with your team, we challenge you to write a one sentence mission with one or two near term goals, meaning goals that you can accomplish within days to a week, or to align your decisions and also reduce that conflict within your team, because that unified vision will help you reduce some of that conflict. So hopefully you take on that action item and set the foundation for the rest of your Conrad journey. Um, all right. So next question. As we, continue on talking about these dynamics between teammates and being able to communicate, be able to simplify ideas for a wide range of audience, we're starting to talk a little bit about the idea of soft skills. And so, which soft skills makes the biggest difference? And I'll give you a couple of examples. So soft skills include something like communication or adaptability, or maybe in your line of work, Brady, maybe it's something else.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of important skills. I think communication is key. When we talk about building trust, aligning around a mission, communication is really key to a team's success. When you're working with others, you have to communicate well. You have to communicate well verbally, you have to communicate well in writing. And I think something we don't need to forget too, need to communicate well non-verbally. And a lot of times when we're in virtual platforms, or when we're in text or in email, a lot of those nonverbals are lost. And so when we're reading communications from one another, we often read with the emotion that we're in, not necessarily the emotion or the intent of the sender. And so it's extra important when you don't have the visual cues, or you're not face to face. You've got to be intentional about using things like emojis, or making sure people understand the emotional intent behind your statement or your question. That kind of communication is critical. And I know, again, my last 5 years at NASA, we're working with virtual teams, and so there was a lot of times where if I had a question or a statement, I needed to be clear about my intent with that, or it could easily be misconstrued or misunderstood. So those are just some things to work through as you're working as a team. But communication is key to a successful team.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and echo communication. That's usually when we start talking about, the Conrad Challenge and what these students will be going through in the Conrad Challenge. Communication is something that is vital. Communicating the idea of your innovation, communicating the business plan, communicating, it's almost foundational. And because at the Conrad Challenge, we have students that are working with other students out of their country, out of their states, out of their cities. Much of that communication is going to be coming through, digitally, or through emails, through texts. And so, our soft skills are expanding beyond just, like you said, the verbal, but then you also have the nonverbal, you all have the digital. Um, and so, one thing that our students can take away from this question is they pick one soft skill. So maybe it is communication. The first thing the first step in Conrad Challenge, other than getting your team, is your lean canvas, where you are communicating the very foundations of what your innovation is. And you have to be able to communicate that in concise, because you'll see, students will see in the lean canvas, we only give them about 40 characters to be able to communicate a robust innovation that could potentially change the lives of a community or the world. So I'm gonna challenge our teams, watching this, is to pick one team soft skill to practice. Will it be communication? Is it going to be adaptability? Maybe you, as a leader of your team, or you have a soft skill that you want your team to practice on. And then beyond just picking it, is add a ritual, something that is consistent. Practice makes perfect. So teams out there, pick that soft skill and then whether it's weekly, whether it's a weekly check-in, or whether it's those feedback loops, especially because communicating is a two-way street. So, not only are you communicating to somebody, but when somebody's communicating to you, reiterating that statement to make sure you are both on the same page, that have that shared vision, that shared communication can be is a powerful tool to have to ensure you're on the same page and you can adequately make progress on whatever part of the innovation cycle you're on. All right. That brings us to our next mini segment here, compatible qualities and complementary skills. We're going to start getting into how to leverage some of these expertises that students are bringing into their teams here in the Conrad Challenge. Now, Brady, you've worked with many teams at the highest level of NASA to here at Space Center Houston. How do you identify gaps in your own skills before you start choosing people to be a part of your team?
Yeah, so I like to talk to other leaders and other people about. I feel like your most powerful leadership tool is a mirror. And I say that because you really need to understand yourself and you need to make sure you're leading yourself well in order to lead a team. The mirror also comes in anytime there's conflict with the team because you hold that up and you say, what could I have done differently to avoid this situation? What can I do differently going forward to make this situation better with the team? So keep the mirror in mind. But in identifying kind of my own skills, I think about what I've been told by family, by friends about what I do well, what are my strengths, what did I learn in school from my teachers, my professors about what I did well. Then in the workplace, hearing those similar things as well. And then we've used different inventories, personality inventories. We used Myers-Briggs several years ago. There's the Berkman method that we've used. DISC is another good personality assessment. And then something that has been a staple of mine over the last 10 to 15 years is giving leaders feedback. So leaders hearing feedback from their teams or from their peers about what they're doing well, what they feel like they can do better. We like to use a simple keep, stop, start methodology. What should the leader keep doing? What should they stop doing? And what should they start doing? And collecting that feedback from the team to make sure that things will continue to improve. As a leader, I can say there's always room for improvement. There's always something to work on. And so be open to that feedback. If you're in a team setting here in the Conrad Challenge, be open to that feedback from others on your team. Look for ways to improve and then share feedback with one another. I would say the healthiest teams know how to give and receive feedback well. And so that'll be something to strive for in this challenge.
I like that you dropped some really cool tools in there, and maybe our producer in the background might be able to drop a couple of those just so if we remind them. I know we heard, I think DISC was one of them, Strength Finder. So what I would, or even something as simple, but you don't even have to go on the internet, but as your what was it? Keep can you remind me?
Keep, stop, start is a simple survey tool that we use for leaders here or for people just to grow and develop and give each other that keep, stop, start feedback.
Yeah, so something as simple as the keep, stop, start feedback. And I think feedback is such a great tool. And that's what I would challenge as the takeaway from this question is, be able to identify what strengths your team has, whether you're using something online or something as simple as a keep, stop, start, or even as just a simple skills inventory, meaning we have these skills and we need these skills, and then have a map of those gaps and figure out as a team how are you going to close that gap? If remember, Conrad Challenge is 2 to 5 students, high school students can compete in the Conrad Challenge. So I challenge our students, if you have gaps and you need expertise, then that's where you can start recruiting. And we see it every year. We see students openly recruiting for financial expert high school students or marketing experts students, because that's what we encourage. You are building a team, and having something like a needs and a skills inventory, or having an ability to see where your qualities lie, can help you really build that strong team. Now, once you do have that assessment where you know where your strengths and where your gaps are, we're going to lead to the next question, which is, what's more important, shared strengths or complementary strengths, and why?
Yeah, this is a great question. So it's been my experience on teams and my observation of teams over the years that having diversity from different perspectives, diversity of thought, diversity of experience, really enhances a team's performance, because you get different ideas and different solutions. So as a leader, I've always tried to seek people who are different from me in various dimensions, to surround me and provide different perspectives, things that I might miss if I'm on my own. This is not easy. We all carry with us a like me bias. We are biased to people who are like us in various dimensions. And so we have to work intentionally to seek out difference. And I feel like from my experience, my observation, teams that have a multitude of strengths are more prepared to meet a variety of challenges than those who might have more of similar strengths.
So right there is a great tool, or a great takeaway from all of this, is seek those complementary skills. Build your team to complement the skills that you have. A lot of the times when we see the students at the final level of the Conrad Challenge, each one of those students is bringing a unique skill, a unique leadership, a unique strength to the team. And some of the most highest performing teams that we see have a diversity of expertise in them. Now, we talked a little bit about different working styles or different leadership styles. And questions that I get a lot are, can two different working styles still be great to collaborate? You would think that these, kind of water and oil, these different, but we talk about complementary skills. But how would you be able to explain that different working styles can actually be a positive thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me share a story from the past. When I was promoted as the deputy HR director at the Johnson Space Center, the HR director at the time was my personality opposite. She was an extrovert. She liked to process things externally. She liked to process her feelings about things. And I'm an introverted thinker, so we couldn't have been more opposite. And the person I followed, the person who was her previous deputy, was also an external processor. So I remember the first few weeks on the job, she liked to end the day and kind of debrief and process. And she quickly learned that I needed time to go think about things. And so we couldn't just banter back and forth like she had done with her previous deputy. And so I would often come back to her the next day with ideas that I had thought about, or reactions to the conversation from the day before. So I'm really grateful that she adjusted her style, and basically to bring out the best in me, what she would do is she would offer kind of little segments of context of what she wanted to talk about the following day. And that gave me time to go process and think about it so we could have a more effective conversation. But it's an example of one, how you adjust your communication style to bring out the best in each team member. Again, she had worked with two very different personality styles and had worked very effectively with both by adjusting her own leadership style. But I would say there was great collaboration. The first deputy that she had, who had a very similar personality style, and then she had a great collaboration with me as well. with kind of an opposite personality style. So collaboration can happen in any of those directions. It just takes flexibility, and it takes adaptability in how you work together.
And one of the things that I picked up from your what you've shared is that you both had to learn along the way how to work a bit better, and so which was it was great. It organically happened. There doesn't look like there was any regression, and your team was able to progress forward. But they're as these teams are getting to know each other, some of them are maybe getting to know each other for the first time in these teams. Are there things or actions or tools, like a charter of some sort, that these teams could develop right now to be able to kind of fast track these types of expectations?
Yeah, and I think we talked about some elements of that earlier, like when you were encouraging the mission statement. I think starting there with what is the mission, and again building that together as a shared mission is an important way to start. Um, Other elements of a charter that I like to have for teams: what are our goals? Um, what is our meeting rhythm? What is that going to look like? What do agendas look like for the meetings? What are the expected outcomes of meetings? What are the roles and expectations of team members? How will we make decisions? When you're coming up with and you've got different points of view about how to move forward, how will decisions be made by the team, and how will you work through that? So those are important things to think about up front as a charter, and how you're going to work together, who's going to do what, and how you're going to resolve conflict that needs to come up. Conflict is intention can be a good thing in a team because it shows that there are different ideas and different thoughts. If everyone is thinking similarly and moving in a direction, it may not be the right answer. That actually groupthink got NASA in trouble. The Challenger accident they pointed to, that was a byproduct of groupthink. So go into your team engagements and your team charters expecting that, hey, there's going to be differences of opinion that we have to work through in your charter, and can really define some ground rules and how you're going to work through that.
Yeah, I think those are some really good places to start. And one of what I want to be able to encourage students right now is not to just discuss your charter, but actually physically create it, write it down. These are great discussions to have, but when you're a month or two into your innovation cycle and you're into the journey and things are getting rough, and you have to lean back on those those foundations that you built with your team, because those are working. That's what's going to keep you progressing forward. So you the last bit of action steps that I would tell you, and this will wrap us up here, but today or tomorrow, or your first steps as a team, on paper, digitally, however you would like, draft that mission statement, one sentence, two goals, draft your team charter, with the expectations and rhythms and flows and how you plan on working as a team. Um, run a skills inventory on your team. What do you have? What do you need? And then from there, be able to determine who's going to have those assigned roles. So there's clarity within your team. Um, and within that one page team charter, or the however long you want to make it, communication norms, tools, deadlines, decision rules, this is how you will work with your team. And this is something that in my professional life, and I'm sure Brady would echo it, it's something that is utilized in the professional world, for teams to have a unified vision, to a shared vision, and this charter, these skills, this mission, this is the foundation of your team, and this is what's going to keep your team progressing forward when things get difficult.
Yeah, and Joey, I would add to that too. One of the things that we had at the Johnson Space Center was a set of expected behaviors. Things like be respectful, be open-minded, be trustworthy, be accountable, and then be a key player who delivers results. Those were five expectations of all of our team members, no matter where you were in the organization at the Johnson Space Center. So there might also be some expected behaviors that you have in your team as well. Those are important things to talk through and determine whether to include in the charter.
I think those are a great five steps to take, and done by an amazing organization, Johnson Space Center, NASA. So there's some weight behind it being successful. So Brady, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for sharing your knowledge, sharing some action items for student teams to be able to take today and move forward as they go through on in the Conrad innovation journey. And I know that our students and our mentors will be able to use this information to help them along that journey. Again, I want to say thank you for joining us today from all around the world. Happy innovating, everybody.